So I'm sort of laying the land for them and sort of painting the picture. We went through this first primer today, and we started it last week as far as restaurant categories, what makes up a restaurant. We talked about all these different topics there. And then, but I want to now get into the belly of the beast here, man, into an actual restaurant. And so this is where you come in. So I'm going to shut up in a second here. But who better to describe the daily grind, the different positions, the importance of front of the house, back of the house, harmony, esprit de corps than you, Ted. So maybe if I could just ask you one question and then lead you into another question. The first question would be, just give them an idea of your typical restaurant position titles that you might see in a restaurant from front of the house to back of the house. You can kind of riff a little bit on each one of those if you like. But then I really want to get into this daily process. Now, these are my notes, Theo. I made these. So I really I'm taking notes here too. So if you have any kind of feedback, and you can pretty much take it bullet by bullet, and you can go as deep as you want on each one. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but maybe go on each one. Maybe you have some memories of some crazy experiences, both positive or negative. You can kind of get into. You can maybe correct. Maybe some of these things are out of order from your point of view. So just kind of have fun with that, man. And so that's it, Ted. So maybe just start talking about the titles and then get into the daily process. Theo, thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. The first thing to understand, though, particularly in any restaurant that a lot of people don't seem to understand, is that there really is no one position that is more important than the other. And I mean from top to bottom. I mean, because if you don't have strong people or a strong work ethic in each position, something's going to break down at some point during the night. And what I mean by that, if somebody, if your manager isn't doing what the manager is supposed to be doing and checking on tables and doing stuff, that's, you're not getting, you're not satisfying the guest needs. And just like if you have a weak dishwasher, it's at some point during the shift that it's going to break down. So it's really the first thing to understand is that each position is integral in the process of getting through each night. There really is no one position that is more important than the other, in my opinion. And the other thing is that there is no, you might have a job classification as like a server's assistant, a server, dishwasher, bartender, but there really is no point, for a successful restaurant, there really is not one job that you never want to hear anyone say, oh, well, that's not my job. Every job is everyone's job. If somebody, as a manager, when I used to, I was a GM, running both restaurants, if I needed to stick my hands in a toilet to fix something, that's what needed to be done. If dishes needed to be washed because the dishwasher didn't show up, then you needed to do that. It's really important to understand that everyone needs to be on the same page, and everyone needs to understand that, that every job is everyone's job. That being said, there are certain titles to where, you are going, specialize in that. So, obviously in the front of the house, the first person that anyone sees or even talks to typically is going to be a host or hostess. When calling to make a reservation, granted, most reservations now are done online, but at some point the host or hostess will contact you to either confirm a reservation, or if you call to make a reservation, that's the first person you're going to talk to. So it's real important as well that, and plus when you walk through the door of the restaurant, that is the first face that you see. So having somebody that knows what they're doing and is very personable up front, because that typically is the first and last person that you see coming and going in the restaurant. Then you have your servers, and each restaurant is different depending on what you're looking for, or what the restaurants kind of specialize in. Fine dining restaurant typically is going to have more positions than, say, like a bar and grill or something of that nature. It's a little bit more specialized the further you go up the chain, as far as the what's the word I'm looking for? The more expensive dining, I guess you could say, you're gonna have a little bit more involved service and more cogs in the wheel. To where obviously If you have a small little like bar and grill or something like that, you might only have a couple employees, and you know, you're not as specialized in what your role is when you only have a couple people. So anyway, you know, so hostess, maitre d, and then will be the first person that is contacted. And then, you know, you have your servers assistants, bartenders. If you have a busy enough bar, you also have a position called a bar back, and they're basically like a server's assistant. And I like the term server's assistant better than busser. Busser kind of just pegs somebody into just, you know, clearing tables, to where, you know, in the restaurant industry now, you need yes, you need people to clear tables, but you know, they're a little bit more specialized in what they do. They should be offering water service as well as getting bread for the table if your restaurant orders, you know, offers bread before the meal comes. And I never really liked the term busser, because that's, you know, a term that I think doesn't really explain, you know, exactly what they do. A little bit more involved than just clearing tables. And so hostesses, bartenders, barbacks, service assistants, and servers and management would be the front of the house. Back in the house, dishwashers, prep cooks, line cooks. And then if you have an expedition service, you're going to have typically the sous chef or the head chef out in front on the line, distributing the food and telling everyone where it needs to go. Go ahead.
The expediter, that's what we're talking about there. That's not, it could just be a cook or it could be a server, right, on the expediter?
Yes, it could be. And the one restaurant, it's funny, as I work in two restaurants. The one restaurant is very more geared towards fine dining. We have a sous chef out expediting the food, and all servers are expected to run food, not just food to your table. But the other restaurant I work in is a little bit more of kind of a more casual dining, and the servers, like we, you know, as the food's coming up in the window, we garnish the food, you know, we run our own food and stuff like that. And except for, you know, when on shifts that we're really, really busy, like a Friday, Saturday night, or Sunday brunch, we do have an expediter out there. So it really kind of is tailored, you know, depending on what type of restaurant you're running, you know, you may need an expediter out there, you know, if you're really busy, or, you know, you can count on the staff. And that's basically what folds back into my statement of everybody's job is everybody's job. Because if you're all working together as a team and doing what's needed to be done to, you know, to get through the evening or the lunch shift or you know, or what have you, it just makes everything go a lot smoother. So I'm going to go from Joe's list here. So daily process, typically when servers arrive and service assistants, there's kind of two schools of thought as far as if you're managing a restaurant, is to stagger in times, as far as, you know, you have a designated opener, designated people that provide the mid shift, and then you have designated closers. I've worked in restaurants where, for instance, the one that I work, we typically have anywhere from 10 to 13 servers on. For your labor costs, you don't necessarily want to bring 13 people in all early at the same time. I've worked and managed other restaurants to where we only ran with like 5 servers for dinner shift. And I feel with a smaller wait staff and support staff, you kind of want everyone in at the same time, provided, of course, you know, you keep an eye on that labor cost. I preferred, you know, when I was managing, I preferred to have everyone in at the same time, because, you know, everything gets done. Everyone's kind of held to their, you know, to what's needed to get done to make the restaurant successful. However, when you have a larger staff like that, it can be challenging to, you know, want to bring everyone in at the same time. So the one restaurant I work at, we have the smaller restaurant, we all come in at the same time. The larger restaurant, we have staggered in times. But openers typically are charged with making sure that the restaurant is set and ready to go. For instance, you come in, you check your tables, make sure all the tables are set and properly ready for service. You do a lot in the back of the house, you know, cutting lemons, making coffee, making tea, getting, you know, everything. You want to make sure that those openers really provide and get everything set up, so you're not in the middle of the shift having to cut more lemons, to brew more. You know, I mean, you're going to have to, you know, if you're busy, you're going to go through products, but to make sure that you're set up for success. During that process as well, your maitre d' or hostess will confirm the reservations. It's real important if you do a reservation system to make sure that you have someone calling it and making sure that people that said they're coming in are going to be coming in. Because what you're going to have to do is inevitably in most restaurants, you're also going to have a walk-in, what's called walk-ins, and you need to know whether or not you can take people that are just walking through the door. And by verifying reservations, you certainly can, know you'll have a little bit of leeway to accept other people. And the goal is obviously is to be as successful as possible, and you want to bring in as many people as you can on each shift, but without sacrificing the quality of service in the restaurant. Let me see what else is on the list. So back of the house, you want the menu prep, stations checked, and that's more for the people, for the guys on the line. They're going to be, typically the kitchen staff will be coming in way earlier than the front of the house because they have a lot of prep to do to get the food ready. Front of the house, as I mentioned, you come in, get everything ready to go, and then typically there will be a pre-shift meeting. So basically what that is that's just kind of like getting everyone together and getting everyone on the same page, what to expect for the night, how many reservations you have, if there's any special guests that are coming in. Particularly the one restaurant I work at, we have, a lot of higher end clientele, I guess you could say, that, can be very specific about their needs and what they want. So you have to be, prepared for that. And sometimes they're really cool about it, and other times they're a little bit more demanding. But we are in the hospitality industry, so we are there to take care of people. That's first and foremost. And I really feel this day and age, a lot of people kind of forget that. And they it's not an easy business, and it can be challenging, and you can long hours at times, and but understand that you've entered into this industry to take care of people. That's first and foremost what you're designed to do. During that pre-shift meeting, you're going to also go over any additions to the menu. Usually, if again, it doesn't have to be fine dining, but the chef or whoever who's cooking is going to come out. Hey, I have this wild striped bass tonight over a lobster risotto with a beurre blanc sauce. But the better restaurants, in my opinion, will prepare a special, or I should say that the chefs that really want you to understand it, because it's hard as a server to sell the food if you haven't tasted it and know what you're doing. It typically with any new menu, you'll come in on off time to taste the menu, and you really need to understand what the components of each dish. And just kind of as a side note, as a server, I really impress upon you, if you're managing or taking care of a restaurant, is to make sure that your wait staff understands the menu, both food and drink. Knowledge is power, and if you don't have that knowledge, you're going to have to stop your service to go find out. Like if somebody has a nut allergy and they ask you if there's any nuts in a certain dish, you have to stop and go ask somebody. That's time taking away from what should be doing and taking care of the guest. Just like the restaurant is, as a server particularly, it's all about seconds. If you can shave off seconds, it turns into minutes at the end of the meal. And I had a really good, one of my kind of mentors and managers said, if you want to turn your table, you do that at the beginning. You don't try to hurry through at the end. So it's shaving off those seconds, and having that knowledge is exceptionally important, for when answering questions. And plus, if somebody has a nut allergy and, oh no, there's nothing in there, then, they go into anaphylactic shock, because you didn't know what was in there and they ate something, that can be a big liability on the restaurant. So having your wait staff and your bartenders know what's in each dish when you're doing the pre-shift meeting is exceptionally important. And then just, procedurally, once people start coming into the restaurant, you want to greet that table as soon as possible and get that going. That's kind of goes back, as I mentioned, to turning that table right at the beginning. You want to greet them. And as a server, the first couple, things that you should be doing when you first hit the table is the greeting, making them feel comfortable, kind of read, the most important thing of waiting tables is reading your guests. Some people are coming in and wanting to get in and out as quickly as possible. Some people want to dine, and you definitely, and meaning that they want to take their time. You want to kind of understand where you're at the beginning, and that initial greet will kind of give you a little bit of a window into what type of clientele you're dealing with at that point. But as you approach the table, you want to greet them, obviously make them feel comfortable. You want to get a water preference, if possible, a drink order, and then you want to slightly go over, you want to kind of go over the menu and specials. And again, that's where the knowledge comes in, to where, you want to be very clear and concise with your descriptions. And you don't want to be a robot either, though. That's the toughest part. Is one of the toughest part as a server is you want to interject your personality. You want them to make you feel comfortable. You don't want to just sit there and kind of like, today we have this, this fish. Today we have this steak. Today we have this drink. And again, you're constantly reading your table, reading the guests to meet their needs. Some people don't want to hear anything that you have to say. And you have to, kind of, understand that at the beginning. And, and if you pick up on that, then just give them the best service, but you kind of be, want to be seen but not heard. There's other people, though, that really want to ask you all about your life. They want to know everything about you. They want to know everything about the restaurant. And, that's where, you have to understand to take that time. And that being said, when you're through the course of the meal, when you're taking care of them, you're not just taking care of them as well. Typically, you'll have other tables. So it's okay to tell a table, I need to step away to go do something. No one's ever going to get mad at you. I've seen, certain people that feel uncomfortable breaking away from that conversation, but you have to have that internal alarm clock in your head. And that's the thing. You're juggling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things in your head at one time. Like, okay, I'm talking to this person, but in your mind, you're like, okay, I have to go get lemons for this table. I have to go get water. They ordered another drink. I have to go get, a condiment so that they asked for. You're juggling, multiple things in your head at one time. So it can be challenging in that way, to where I feel like sometimes in the back of the house, they're solely focused on, well, I mean, that's not true as well. They could be having 6 different dishes going on that they need to do, but they're pretty much, focused on that line, to where, you're as a server, you're floating through the restaurant, and you're covering a lot more ground, as opposed to pivoting on, with the cooks on the line, that they should have everything right in front of them. Let me see what else. Each restaurant will have their own POS system, which is the computer system for ordering. It's, again, knowledge, as I mentioned, I'll always say knowledge is power. Knowing how to navigate through there, because particularly as, in the past, I've been doing this for 25 years, particularly in the, as the years have gone on, people want to come in and amend the menu, or do things, to a dish that, maybe the chef didn't initially anticipate or design that dish to look like. But sometimes, for instance, people want everything on the side. They don't, I don't want asparagus. I'd rather have mashed potatoes, So knowing how to navigate in the POS system is very important, because you're gonna end up having to put in a lot of modifications at some point. Another issue is that with the advent of the debit cards, and hardly anyone pays in cash now. So you get a table of 6 people, you're going to have to separate that bill sometime into 6 separate checks. And again, knowing what everyone had, and however you keep that organized, it can be a nightmare if you have everything rung up, but don't have it written down clearly, either in your notes, or we do a thing at the restaurant called seat numbers. So each position at the table is a seat number. And so if you ring everything on, say, seat 1, and there's 8 people at the table, then you're at the POS system being like, oh crap, what did seat 5 have? What did seat, I can't remember what they had. If you have everything organized from the get-go, that makes it so much easier to separate everything off. And, it's also, time is money. If you can get, a table in and out at a quicker time, you're going to get more tables, which equates more money, which equates, you paying your bills or going on vacation or whatnot. It's, and that's, again, it's where it's a matter of seconds when taking care of people in the front of the house. Also, in that sense, when you're taking an order, always repeat the order back to the guest. Always, make sure that what they're ordering is what they want. And it's exceptionally important to not make mistakes. You're going to make a mistake. As a manager, as somebody running, you're going to make a mistake. It's not about the mistake you made. It's how you recover from your mistakes. And that's, that a thread throughout life. But you're going to make a mistake, but you try to minimize those as much as you possibly can. And that, by repeating orders back to the guest and making sure that you're putting into the computer exactly what they're ordering, and when it comes to the table, there's no problems with that. So throughout the course of the menu, once people get started, you just want to maintain that table, and you maintain it through your personality and talking to them. If they want to talk, if something's really good, they're going to ask you, "Oh my gosh, this is like the best. This is the best steak I've had. Where does it come from? What's the preparation, for that you guys do here that makes you so much better than, say, another restaurant?" And then also, I'm a big proponent of keeping a table as neat and tidy as possible. You only want what's on the table, what's needed. Sugar packets, used lemons, straws, plates that don't need to be there, that all needs to come off. And again, that's kind of a lost art, in the sense where I go out to certain restaurants, and the servers don't really do that as much as they used to. But I guarantee you, if you have a wait staff that is, the attention to detail and do that, people do notice it. You might not think so, but they certainly do. And that's, it goes back in, the better experience that you can give the guests. And that's another thing, real quick. I like the term guest. I don't like the term customer. You're not getting your brakes checked. You're not getting an oil change. You're not going to Target to buy something. These people are coming into your home. Your restaurant, you should think of that restaurant as your house. If you have, friends over for a dinner party, you don't call them customers, you call them your guests. And specializing and taking care of your guests is, in my opinion, is the most important thing. And treat them as such. So again, sorry, I'm going a little long-winded on this. But as you're going through the guest experience and taking care of the table, every little thing counts. From clearing, from getting the stuff off the table that's not needed, to your personality, talking to the table, and you want them to leave, because there's tons and tons of restaurants, particularly in just about every town, but particularly in the Sarasota area, in the Tampa area. There are tons and tons of places to go out to eat. And you need to give that level of service to where the next time they decide they want to go somewhere, they want to say, "Hey, where do you want to go?" "Well, you know what? My took such great care of us last time, and she runs the restaurant so awesome. We want to go see them again." And that's the goal, is to give everyone an individual experience, to when they leave, they're like, "Wow, that is one of the best dinners I have." And I truly, I've been doing this for a very long time, but I get enjoyment and still do after all this time, of when I take care of a table or take care of people, that they're just blown away. They're like, "Oh my God, this is like," I had a guy the other night, it's like, "This is like the top 3 steaks I've ever had in my life," when I was working in, and your service was the best that I've ever had. And that makes me feel good. I'm not in this industry, just, as a means to an end, to pay bills. I actually genuinely enjoy, even after, 25 years, taking care of people and making them feel just, amazing that they've had such a good meal. Because one thing that I was always told is, you go to, you buy a car, you have something, you have a commodity, you buy a bracelet, a necklace, you have something. The only thing that you have when you go to a restaurant, after you've shelled out, 50, 100, 200, $500 is an experience. That's all you have. You might you might be going home with some leftovers, but they'll be gone within a day or so anyway. So all you have is just for anything after you leave a restaurant is an experience. And when spending money, that's you're not getting anything tangible but a memory, and so it's exceptionally important if to be a successful restaurant is to make those memories and have people want to come back and make more of them. All right, what else, Joe?
Theo, you're awesome, man. You're brilliant, and that was fantastic. I think I'm going to ask them if they have any questions, but if they don't say anything, if they don't ask anything, it's not because they didn't enjoy it. I think you're very thorough.
Well, I tend when I talk, I tend to be a little long-winded on stuff. No, but certainly, if anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
Any questions for Theo?
I just wanted to know, what are the names of the restaurant you work at?
I work at Summer House on Siesta Key, which is we specialize in prime quality steaks. We also have some really nice seafood. And then I also work at Made Restaurant, MADE. It's an acronym for Modern American Delicious Eats. And that is certainly very much more casual dining. And our chef is from Plano, Texas. So it's a lot of kind of like Southern influence. We have some really good like burgers and sandwiches and fried chicken. And, we do a Sunday brunch that is just phenomenal. But the funny thing is that you really couldn't get more opposite ends of the spectrum, working at each restaurant. One is very, I would say casual fine dining because we're on the beach. But service is very intense there. There's a huge list of people trying to get in there to work. And we are very proud of what we do. We are consistently considered one of the best restaurants in Sarasota or in Southwest Florida area. We take care of, because we're on the beach, we take care of a lot of people from other places. And particularly, obviously, over this past year, pretty much everybody I waited on was not from Florida. And so that being said, also, we take on a lot of vacation people there. It is really, really important to make sure that that everything is as perfect as you can get it, taking care of its guests.
Yeah, those are two fantastic restaurants. Mama, any questions?
No, I'll just be visiting the Summer House, especially. Sounds really good.
Yeah, please do. Take a look at the menu. And it's, if you really want to see high level of service from everybody there, that is one of the best restaurants I've worked at. The restaurant group that I worked for in Atlanta was probably my most favorite job. And truly, when you have a good staff, and I want to get into one last thing before we go. But when you have a positive and good staff, it makes all the difference in the world. Because everybody's on the same page, everybody's working hard to the same end or the same goal. That being said, if you're running a restaurant, the first thing you have to do is you have to get a cohesive staff, and you have to get positivity. If there's any negativity, I highly suggest that you cut it out. And why I say cut it out is because negativity can be a cancer on a staff. If you're in a bad mood, which we all are sometimes, when you come through those doors of the restaurant, you got to leave that at the door, because people pick up on negativity. And it's exceptionally important to have the most positive people around, because you're there 40, 50, 60, 70, with owners and general managers and executive chefs. You're there sometimes 70, 80 hours a week. So you need to have the people around you that you can trust and that you can get along with. And when you have a staff that is willing to do what is needed to be as ultra successful as possible, you can accomplish great things, for sure. but yeah, please come in, check out the menu, and please come in and check it out, because the staff that I work with there is one of the best staff, most professional. And the greatest thing, the restaurant group that we're called is Above the Bar. You might want to look into Chris Brown. He is the owner, and Mike Grantham. They have really created something special on Siesta Key. We have pretty much on the corner of Ocean Boulevard and in the Siesta Village, he has that whole corner on lockdown. I mean, we've got the summer house, next to us is the cottage, next to us is the hub, varying degrees of service and food. Across the street is the Beach Club, which is like the high-end club, or the club where people go dancing and stuff like that. And then across the street we have MVP, which is the sports bar. And Chris, do a little research on him. He's a very successful restaurateur. Started out in real estate, and then around 2008 or 10, he started getting into the restaurant industry and started building what he has. And if you want to see an example of a really great restaurant group, I suggest coming and checking out any of our places.
Theo, give us those two names again,
Chris Brown and Mike Grantham.
Yeah, I didn't know they owned those last two restaurants you mentioned. I knew they owned the.
So Above the Bar is Summer House, the Hub, the Cottage, the Beach Club, MVP, that's in Siesta Village. Then Mad Mo's, which, forgive me, I can't remember where that is, and Smokin' Joe's, which is downtown Sarasota, which is kind of like a nightclub feel.
Fabulous. So yeah, in my mind, when you go in there, it's a Summer House. Summer House, ask for Theo, and he will take care of you, man.
Now, I will say, when it comes to any of the other restaurants, like the Hub and the Cottage, I probably don't need a reservation. Summer House, you definitely need a reservation. And you'll see it when you come in there. I mean, in light, obviously, of the past year and a half of everything that's happened, I mean, we're busy every single night, but that's because, from top to bottom, from management down to, the dishwashers, we all are striving for that common goal. I mean, when you're doing 200 covers on Monday through Sunday through Thursday, and then 3+, and we're a decent sized restaurant, but we're not a huge restaurant. And doing those types of numbers, particularly what would be considered towards the end of season, season in Sarasota runs basically from like just before Valentine's Day until about right now, but we're still killing it. And a lot, and it has to do with what we offer, the people.
Absolutely. Theo, can't thank you enough, man.
Anytime, man. Any other questions or anything I can?
Theo, and I apologize. I turned the classroom camera off because it was blinking on and off. But
no, that's fine.
You're still here. Just like your approach to restaurants, Theo. Just like your approach to restaurants, man. You've given us everything I was hoping for and more. So.
Thank you. I hope you're that was helpful to you all. And again, any other questions before I take off?
I had one other question. And again, I was taking notes, and I'm going to update this, so I appreciate that. Okay. You got a lot to do. You have a lot going on, but can you just briefly talk about sort of the timing as far as clearing and what if clearing too soon, just the timing of courses coming out and what your approach to that is? What are you looking for when you're? So
again, that is dependent on what type of restaurant you're working at. Typically, with your upper scale and fine dining, you want to wait till everybody's done at the table eating to clear any given course. Say if you have 4 people sitting there and 3 people are done with their first course and somebody's still eating the salad, you ultimately want to wait till everybody's done. Couple of amendments to that rule, though, is if they stack plates or push anything to the side, that means that they're done, and you want to, again, that goes back to getting everything off the table that is not needed. However, when you're in a little bit more casual atmosphere, like a bar and grill or something like that, typically it's okay and not frowned upon to just, as they're done, you want to get it off the table. So a lot also has to do with when you're in more of a upscale situation or a restaurant, you're going to have multiple courses, meaning that usually like a starter, a salad or soup mid-course, entree, and dessert. A lot of times in the more casual atmosphere, they're just going to order everything at one time. Or, you'll get the often I'll ask, and the other restaurant made where I work, where it's not as upscale, would you like, say, your, fried green tomatoes before your burgers? No, well, you can just bring it in as it comes. Well, at that point, you order everything, and then as it comes out, you take it to the table. But, when you sit down, as I mentioned before, I'll kind of go through the whole process real quick. When you sit down, you want to greet the table. You want to get the water preference, drink preference, and go over the menu. Once you get that, as you come back, you want to ask them, and there's little terminologies that I like to use as opposed to, are you ready to order? Does anyone have any questions? So another one I always use is, would you like more time? So when I'm asking, would you like more time? I'm asking them, are you ready? But I'm not doing it in a way like, hurry up and give me your order. So there's certain things that you can do to kind of get what you want, or to move service along quicker by just tweaking the your phrases around, as opposed to, being a little bit more, you're being a little bit more indirect as opposed to direct. So anyway, so you greet the table, water preference, drink preference, go over the menu. As you come back, ask if they have any questions. They do, you go over that, you get the order. Ultimately, you would like to get the entire order at one time if they have multiple courses, because it can make it difficult if they just give you, say, the first course, and then you go do other stuff, and then you get other tables, and then you have to go back at some point and get the entree while you're in the middle of giving service to other people. So once you get that order, you put it into the kitchen in the proper sequence, and you want to get that food as soon as it's ready onto the table as quickly as possible. And then again, you're constantly recalibrating and recalibrating what is needed next. Typically you want to fire that food, meaning that you want to have them start preparing the entrees, but you don't necessarily want those entrees to come on top of the first course if you're working in more of the fine dining atmosphere. But just getting in that habit, regardless of what level of restaurant you're working in, is I would say is important. So as the food comes, you want to get it onto the table. You want to make sure that you have the proper setting or whatever utensils. If they're having oysters, you want an oyster fork on the table before it gets there. If they're having something that needs a steak knife, you want to make sure that knife is on that table before their entrees come. So you're not, having to, oh crap, I forgot this, and then to where you should be at another table taking their order, you're now then going and getting what you should have had done on the table. So as they finish the meal, you want to get everything off the table, all plates, all silverware, any empty glassware. And then if they want dessert, you offer dessert. And then, or an after dinner drink, coffee, cappuccino, espresso, if your restaurant offers that. And then pretty much at the end of the meal, you want to typically, I would say, drop the check, midway through the dessert. And then, you get the payment, and then always thank them. And one thing I like to do is, as I see a table leaving, and this goes for both restaurants I work at, I like to kind of escort them out in a sense. It's a little added touch, a little added part of service, to where when my guests leave, particularly at Summer House, I'm opening the door for them and thanking them, shaking their hand or fist bumping them, or whatever, and making sure that everything is good.
That's fantastic. That's a great way to end. That's rare. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to do that. Jay had a quick question.
Yep.
Especially with recently staff shortages, depending on your level of how did you deal with staff shortages or people no calling, no showing when you need staff?
All right, I got the second part of that, the no call, no show. What was the first part?
Dealing with staff shortages?
I'm sorry?
Dealing with staff shortages.
Dealing with staff shortages.
Shortages. Okay. Well, it's not always, but it's going to happen. As a manager, a lot of times I'll have an on-call person on schedule, particularly if I know it, if it's earlier in the week, and I know that typically we're not that busy, but particularly on busy nights, you want to have somebody on call. And you don't want, you want them to call the restaurant. You don't want to have to say, I'll call you if I need you. Have them, like, say if the end time for a server is say 4 o'clock, you want that on-call person to call at before that, about 15 minutes to a half an hour before that, to where if like, oh, John called out, we need you to come in. So you kind of have a little bit of a buffering zone there in that situation, but it's going to happen. So when it does happen, because it will, you just have to, during that pre-shift meeting, all right, guys, we're down a server tonight. We're down a dishwasher. Everyone's got to pull together. And that's, again, folds back into, if you have a very positive staff, people that are willing to work to the common goal, you don't have to worry about people getting ticked off that they have to do extra work. And that's where the positivity, really comes in. There's going to be unexpected challenges always. Maybe not every single night, but there are going to be things that are going to happen. And it's like if you make a mistake or if something, freaky happens, it's how do you respond to that? That's the most important. But definitely having the on-call slot on busier nights will kind of buffer any issue that you have if you have somebody not show up or that. So that's kind of one way you can combat that. And again, it's particularly as a restaurant manager, if there's two ways you can manage: through fear or through encouragement and positivity. You can get stuff done managing through fear, having them be afraid of you. But I can guarantee you, if somebody doesn't show up or 2 people don't show up, and you call somebody that's off, the chances of them answering that phone are very, very, very slim. Where if you're constantly, positive and you're there for them and meet the needs that they need. When I say that, I mean, like, making sure that they have, stuff ordered, you have the proper silverware, you have the proper glasses, you have the proper, condiments or whatever is needed for that restaurant. As a manager, that's where you shine, or where what's most important for you is making sure that you're setting the restaurant up for success. But I'm telling you, if you try to rule through fear, it might work for a little bit, but it's not going to work for very long. And you're going to constantly be revolving through your service staff if you do it that way.
So it kind of sounds like you're saying treat your employees like people in your family too, in your house.
Yes, exactly. And that's why, as I mentioned at the very beginning, no one's job. There is not my job. Dishwasher's not less important than the manager. Trust me, because if you have a breakdown in any one of those positions from top to bottom, something's not going to go right. And if you're humble and understanding that you're not better than anybody, regardless if you're the owner or the line cook or the prep guy, everybody has the same importance to make everything to work properly. And if you can stay humble and understand that. And understand that that everybody is should be treated with respect and that everybody is equal, then you're going to do just fine.
Theo, fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Already thank Theo for coming in. Have a great day at work, Theo. If you are working today, and
I'm off today. It's all good.
Everybody say bye to Theo. Bye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.